Let's talk about this piece of shit. It isn't the worst movie ever made, but God, Cinderella 2 is terrible. Rewatching this, like, man, this just really frustrates me because Disney, with its direct-to-video sequels, for the most part, are either harmless and stupid, or there's a couple really legit, like, entertainingly great ones for me, but there's a lot of ones that are infuriatingly bad in a way, and this one isn't the worst, but it is definitely down there. This is awful. Rewatching this, it, man, this is one of the ones I was not looking forward to whenever I wanted to watch all these Disney movies and talk about them again, like the whole Disney animated canon with the films and their sequels, direct-to-video or whatever. But this is one of the worst, and it's really, man, this was just one that I didn't want to rewatch. I've seen it before, and the thing that bugs me about this movie the most, and a couple other Disney direct-video sequels does this, is that this is a 3-episode TV series that doesn't exist, that they made into a film because they wanted to make money, and this movie made them straight up like so much money from this movie. Like this made like a shit ton of money. In terms of all the direct-to-video sequels, it's one of the like highest grossing ones that surprises me. And I mean, I guess if you were a fan of the original Cinderella, I could see in 2001 or 2002, whenever this came out, you would be hankering for the second one. And the way they probably made it look on the box was like, oh, it's supposed to be a new like story about all of them, but it's just 3 different TV episodes that do not equal theatrical narrative at all. And I'm not like pissed at this movie. I just think that this movie is really stupid. Like, it's a stupid movie with a couple okay things about it, with a lot of boring things about it. It's just boring, tedious, and is nothing that it doesn't have much that justifies its existence, really. But there's a couple things I could say a few positive things about, but this really is one of the worst direct-to-video sequels. And the way that they resolved this issue of, oh, it's 3 episodes of a TV series that doesn't exist, they used the narrative of fairy godmother in the castle after Cinderella's become princess. They're in the castle, fairy godmother's talking with the mice. They make a storybook for Cinderella, so they have all these 3 stories to make a book, and that's the narrative thread there. Which, I mean, I could understand this for a direct-to-video sequel, but damn, Disney, just try a little harder. It really bugged me. And then we get to the first short, which is the one that I think is, it's not the worst one. The second one to me is the worst one, but this one is just like, it's Cinderella after she goes to the castle for the first time and she becomes a princess, and the way that it starts after Cinderella 1 ends. So she's going to the castle. She doesn't understand what the fancy folk are like. She doesn't understand that they're all fancy, like they have all these fancy like ways of doing things, and Cinderella just says like, oh no, we gotta keep the windows open, we gotta do all these things that are not normal for you guys. Like, Cinderella goes and cooks in the morning, which I think isn't a bad thing, like that she wants to cook for friends and family. And then the snooty old lady who's part of this castle is like, oh, you can't do that. A princess can't make her own food. A princess can't go and wear her own dresses. It's so stupid. It's just like, I mean, I can understand this, like, this existing, like, if, like, you went to the next Cinderella after this, like, the next part, it would be like, oh, she's trying to get used to, like, being part of this, but it's just so dumb and so cliched. It's like, oh, the grumpy old lady, part of the castle, is saying, like, oh, you can't do this, a princess shouldn't be like this. Fuck off, that's so dumb. And I like the fact that the prince immediately is gone out of the movie. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna be there for you to help you become a princess. And then he immediately leaves with the king and with the duke. They're just like, oh, see ya, we gotta go. What? That just, it's so stupid. I guess it was just part of something for another, like, castle, like somebody else that they're gonna go see, but, like, why? Like, that's so stupid. But I guess it made sense because the prince had no development in the first movie, so maybe they're like, oh, we can just throw him out of the movie. I guess. But, and then it just has Cinderella shenanigans, like, oh, she's getting in trouble because she's doing things that aren't fancy. It's so stupid. And it's stupid, but it's like, it's perfectly, like, bland and okay for the first short. And then we get to the second short, which is the worst one out of the three. Man, this one, I couldn't pay attention to this short for the whole time, because even though I've seen it before, I couldn't pay attention to it again. It's about Jack the mouse, who is a mouse, so he's all small, and he wants to go and do adult human things, because Cinderella's in a castle now with humans, so, like, the mice don't feel needed anymore, or at least Jack doesn't. So Fairy Godmother makes him a human, and shenanigans ensue, where he goes and just stuff happens, where he's scared of the new cat in the castle, Pom Pom, which is a stupid name, but he's scared of the cat. He tries to do all these human things, but then he's like, oh no, I might have liked it when I was a mouse. It's just so cliched, like how these characters in this movie are made and how their lines are done. Like in the first short, when at the end of the first short with Cinderella, the Cinderella says, like, one day I'll learn to be a true princess, and then the prince just says, I think that day is today. I'm just like, nobody talks like that, and nobody acts like this in this thing. Like in the Jack short, where he's like, he's all sad because, oh, I'm a mouse and and there's humans now, so I gotta be human. And then he becomes human. He's like, oh no, I want to be a mouse again. Again, just so dumb. And then I don't know. It annoys me. And then it annoys me so much in all three of these. There's a pop song in all three of these segments, and they're god-awful. Like, terrible. Terrible. Why do they put pop music in fucking Cinderella? A movie that is timeless, the first movie is, and they put this and make it immediately dated. Why? Just so dumb. And like I said, it's so dumb with both these first two shorts where Cinderella immediately, like, revolutionizes everything after, like, not everybody else going, oh no, I don't agree because you can't be a princess if you do blah blah. Or Jack, it's just like, oh, he wants to be a mouse, or he wants to be a human because there's more humans now, but then he wants to be a mouse again because humans hard. Like, these are so stupid. And then we get to well, actually, I'll go back to the second segment with Jack. I think that it's funny that he looks literally, as a human, he looks just like Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents, a show I watched as a kid. He looks just like him. And I just thought that was a funny little tidbit. But anyways, let's talk about the third segment of this movie, which is, I think, the most tolerable. It's not great, but it's definitely the most tolerable, because it's literally like the first Cinderella in reverse, which is about Anastasia falling in love with this baker, common folk baker. And of course Lady Tremaine doesn't have it. She won't have it because he's not a fancy, like, wealthy guy. So Anastasia struggles to try to be with him, and then Cinderella's like, oh, I'll help you out. And Cinderella helps her out, which I thought was a nice thing. I think that works with Cinderella's character, where she's like, oh, I'll help you out. Well, I take that back. It helps with her character, but it doesn't, because of all the physical and emotional abuse Anastasia gave her all those years. Like, Cinderella just is immediately forgiving and is like, oh, I'm gonna help you out because you didn't do anything wrong to me my whole life. Like, oh, that's stupid. The more I think about it, that's really stupid. And it's just average cute, I guess. Like, The only thing I do appreciate about it is they did make Anastasia a little bit more sympathetic. And I think that it definitely helps in Cinderella 3, which is a great sequel, great direct-to-video sequel. I think the best Disney direct-to-video sequel out of all of them. But in this one, it shows her like, oh, she's got a good side a little bit, Anastasia, but they definitely delve more into it in the third one. But in terms of this movie, if you call it a movie, God, it's so bad. It's so horrible. It's not the worst movie ever made. Like, it's got a couple things I can give all right about it. Like I said, the last short is fine. The first short is boring, but it's whatever. And then the third one is awful. Or, I mean, the second short is awful. But just overall, this is just one of the most insulting, like, Disney direct-to-video sequels. And I know there are way more insulting ones, like Fox and the Hound 2, or like Fox and Cop, or Todd and Copper Join a Band, and stuff like that. But this is definitely one of the worst. But I'm excited to talk about Cinderella 3, which I think is truly one of the best direct-to-video sequels from Disney ever. And I think that it really does a great job of creating a great sequel, as opposed to this really shitty movie. Again, it's not even a movie. It's fucking TV episodes into one narrative. And Disney is guilty about doing that more than once, because I'm gonna have to watch fucking Atlantis, Milo's Return, and like Belle's Magical World, and fuck, I don't want to watch those, but I'm gonna do it just to talk about them, because I want to get my frustration out. That's what I'm gonna do. That's how I'll justify it. I want to get my frustration out. But overall, this movie was really bland, really stupid. Not the worst thing ever, but God, it was really bad.